Many people today think that we can tell that someone really is a Christian by how much time they spend practicing religion or how much effort they put into practicing religion. And Edwards addresses this issue, and he says, yes, it's possibly true that someone who spends a lot of time or puts a lot of effort into being into the practice of religion, that this does indicate that they are a Christian. He speaks of Anna there in the New Testament, who spent all her time in the temple just before the birth of Jesus. Or we might even talk about the church in Acts, that early church, that they were always breaking bread, and they were always meeting together, and they were hearing the word of the Lord. And so we think, well, yeah, it's definitely right that those who practice religion, put a lot of religion or a lot of time into religion and effort into religion. This indicates that someone really is born again. Daniel even, he was always praying, and he was known for the way that he prayed again and again. And so Edwards says, yes, it might be true. Someone who practices a lot of religion and practices it with lots of energy, this does indicate saving faith. But he says, sometimes that isn't exactly true. And there's some evidence in the Scriptures that those who seem to be quite zealous were not true converts. The book of Isaiah is addressed to Israel, and in that first chapter, Isaiah speaks of them and says they spend so much time in the practice of religion, and yet God's complaint against them was not that they didn't practice religion, because they did, but that they practiced it in such a way that their heart was not true to the Lord. That religious practice was supposed to be a demonstration of their heart being toward the Lord, and they were sort of using their religious practice as a substitute for having their hearts toward the Lord. And so the Lord found fault in Israel, even though they had religious practice. The Pharisees, we know, they fasted, they kept zealously the law, and yet the Lord found that the problem with them also was that their heart was far from Him. And so we can see then that it is possible that someone can practice religion and practice it with a lot of effort and still not be truly saved. And I think that is one way we need to think and make application to our churches today. Many in our church are very active. They're either deacons, or they're Sunday school teachers, or they're nursery workers, or they maintain the grounds, or in other ways they serve at the church. And Edwards wants to say of these people, this may in fact be evidence that they're really born again. This aspect that they're so involved in church work. Yes, that oftentimes we do expect for Christians to act in these exact ways. And yet, what Edwards also is going to say is that it's possible that somebody could be a nursery worker, be some sort of worker at the church, and really not be truly born again, and we want to consider that as a possibility. Perhaps they just like spending time with children, they just like to be around people, and so there's other reasons that would explain why they are doing what they're doing, and that what they're doing is not evidence that they're truly born again. And one of the things, again, that Edwards is pushing toward in this book is what's going on the heart. Is the heart having a love for God, and then out of the overflow of a love for God, are they serving God and God's people? If that's what's going on, then yes, I think we do see evidence that this is saving faith. And yet, if we just merely see service, it doesn't prove that someone really is a Christian, and we need to bear that in mind today.